The Minnesota Vikings pick up a big-time win on the road against the LA Chargers, one that puts them right back in the playoff mix and snaps what had been a couple bad showings in a row. A full reaction, news, rumors, recap coming at you guys. Before we get going, though, like the video if you are hyped about Minnesota's big-time win this week. Welcome into Minnesota Vikings Now. I am Tom Downey. How about Minnesota? They get a huge, critical win over the LA Chargers on the road. Minnesota was the underdog by 3 points, and they win by 7. Were there moments where I was like, you know what? How is Minnesota going to lose this game? Yes, that entered my head many a time. But the Vikings defense really did a great job of limiting Justin Herbert. And the Vikings offense on the ground and through the air, very effective. As they drop 27, they win by 7 on the road against LA. A game they really, really had to have. A loss would have dropped them to 3-6. I mean, it would have put them pretty much out of the playoff race. But instead, a W gets them to 4-5. Atlanta lost. The Saints lost. Minnesota right in the midst now of that playoff picture. Maybe the MVP of this game, you can mention an MVP if you want in the comment section. Kirk Cousins, even though he is somehow a different player when it's prime time and not in a good way, Cousins on the road against LA, what you want, right? 25 of 37, 294 yards, 2 touchdowns total. Took a couple sacks, not a big deal there. Cousins was efficient, he was solid, and he was more than good enough to get Minnesota the win. This is the Kirk Cousins the Vikings need to have, not the one we saw against Dallas, not the one we've seen at various points throughout this season. In the end, with the way the Vikings are built, they need Kirk Cousins to play well. He played well against the Chargers, and it's no coincidence Minnesota got a win. So I want you guys now to grade the Vikings overall, the team, offense, defense, players, special teams, coaches, etc. Grade them against the Chargers, A, B, C, D, or F. This question is the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad break comes here on YouTube, head down to that pinned comment and grade them, A, B, C, D, or F. A big-time game also was had, that's a sentence, right? Yeah, we'll allow it, by Justin Jefferson. Targeted 11 times against the Chargers. He pulled in 9 catches for 143 yards. Yes, many fantasy owners might be wondering, but no touchdowns. Yeah, that's cool. 11 targets, 9 grabs, 143 yards, including some very clutch ones, I should say. Of course it was a catch one. They're all catch ones. Clutch ones is the phrase I was looking for there. Several of them big pivotal moment plays down the stretch by Jefferson. Minnesota overall 381 yards. Not, set the world on fire efforts, but compared to what the Chargers did, get to that later on, that's what you're looking for there in the end. 278, remember that number includes sack yardage. They had 100 yards on the ground. The bulk of that came from Dalvin Cook because, of course it came from Dalvin Cook in the end. He was not spectacular on the ground. 24 carries, did not get to the 94-yard mark. He actually didn't bust any big plays. Longest was 12, but he picked up some key runs down the stretch that I think it was the third down pickup to more or less ice the game. Or was it fourth down? One of the two. I can't remember off the top of my head. Either way, the down and distance conversion to pick it up there. Average under 4 yards per carry. That's not what you're looking for in general. In fact, Minnesota as a team averaged 3.1, although some negative runs by Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins impacting that. You want more explosive plays out of your ground game, but we are nitpicking from that perspective, and he looked healthy. And given Cook's issues earlier this year, plus his off-the-field situation, performing well is, I think, good enough in the end for Minnesota. If you guys want more free Vikings videos, subscribe today at youtube.com/Vikings Today. Of course, your probably already watching on YouTube, which, hey, cool. Thanks, guys. And if that's the case, it's actually pretty simple. Go down in the comments, just above it, hit that big red button, and subscribe. That way you get videos sent to your phone or laptop or iPad or whatever you watch your YouTube on for free videos almost every single day on Minnesota. Let's talk defense now. Justin Herbert, I should say, did take 2 sacks in the end. One by, Cameron Bynum. It's right there on screen in front of me. Wow, I'm being stupid. The other by Eric Kendricks. Now, I also want to mention Bashaud Breeland, who was playing through an injury. Looked just fine out there, had that groin issue from last week. He was able to make some plays. The Chargers' lead receiver was Keenan Allen, 8 catches, 98 yards. Some of those came against Breeland, some against Mackenzie Alexander. Not that many, I don't think. I have to go back and watch the film again from Cameron Dantzler. Minnesota, who did not have Michael Pierce, he went on IR. Between Kendricks and, by the way, the player of Cameron Bynum, who I know was listed as a corner, but he's been playing a lot of safety, drafted as, it was really a corner at Cal, and that's why our autographic database has him at corner. It's not a big deal. He's a safety now. He's been playing great with Harrison Smith on the COVID list. I don't want to undersell how good Bynum has been. Kendricks, meanwhile, continues to be one of the premier linebackers in the NFL. Overall, if I had told you Minnesota allows 253 yards, your response would have been, they won? And you would have been correct from that perspective. The ground game for LA, it did average 4.3 yards per carry, but Austin Eckler only had a flat 4, 11 carries for 44 yards. Justin Herbert had 2 carries, 22. But it was the Chargers, at this point, I'm going to call it what it is, inconsistent passing attack against a Vikings secondary that has gotten beat by Cooper Rush a little bit inconsistently. Cooper Rush outplayed Justin Herbert against the same team. Really weird. Anyway, Herbert completed under 60% of his passes. He took 2 sacks, had an INT. The Justin Herbert that the Chargers had against Minnesota, the guy we've seen a bit too frequently this week. And let's give credit to Minnesota for making life a bit more difficult on Herbert and taking advantage of an off day from one of the better young quarterbacks in the NFL. I want to emphasize this point again. This win by Minnesota was massive. If they had lost this game, the calls to fire Mike Zimmer would have skyrocketed. The Vikings playoff chances would have taken a pretty significant hit. Now, they're still in the mix. A long season still to go, 8 weeks of NFL football. So will the Vikings end up making the playoffs? Get your predictions in for me in the comments. Y for yes or N for no.